Welcome to NTT20, the England pod, all England, all summer. Really trying to get that one going.
I hadn't agreed to that.
I'm Ali Maxwell, got George Elek and Dave, not Des Walker, ready for episode 3, where really we're just enjoying filling a bit of time before the pre-tournament warm-up friendlies. And Dave, what do 3 podcasters love to do when filling time? Quiz.
Indeed. So I thought we'd start today's episode with a quick fire quiz. And I'm going to need you to count your own scores here. Okay. So there are 12 possible answers to this quiz, but you're going to have between you, and you've just got to shout out names. And
In order, or just
shout them out, and I'll tell you if they're right or they're wrong.
Okay.
And the things you've got to guess are players to have been named in a Gareth Southgate England squad, but who have not made it onto the pitch.
Oh. So, first thought is goalkeepers.
So, in 3, so you got 1 minute, okay?
which squad?
So, it doesn't include the most recent squad. So there are a few players in the most recent squad. Adam Wharton, for example, who's not on this list. So because this list is from before that squad was announced. But that's the idea. So players that have been named in any Gareth Southgate England squad, but who haven't made it onto the pitch at all. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Jack Butland.
No.
Jake Livermore.
No.
What? He got
He
capped.
played.
Oh no.
Patrick Bamford.
No.
Oh no, this is awful. We're going to get 0.
Going very
Nathaniel
well
Klein.
He got a cap.
No.
Tyreek Mitchell's come on the pitch, hasn't he?
Yep.
Goalkeepers, there must be Sam Johnston.
He's
Must
No,
have
he's
played.
played. He's played.
James Trafford.
Correct.
Yeah.
1-0.
Thank God for
I
that.
even
You got
said
1.
that off
So remember,
mic.
you got 1.
Has Dean Henderson played?
Yes. He's played. So he's still only 1.
Fraser Forster.
Correct.
Just keepers.
Ali's 2-0 up. Come on, George.
Hold on, did Tony play after he was called up and didn't play the game?
Scored
he played
against
afterwards,
Belgium.
didn't he? Yeah, that's annoying.
Scored a pen.
Take him for pens. Let's have 2 minutes. Who? Your keepers thing is
I'll
annoying.
give you an extra 30 seconds.
Ross
Okay.
Barkley.
No.
No.
A bit for England, that's interesting. Um,
Can we enter a second stage of the quiz where you just give us like 3?
Nathaniel Chalobah.
No, he played. He got on
What?
the pitch against
God.
Spain in the last minute of the game.
Who's not getting on the pitch here? I'm quite embarrassed for whoever the
Can't
answer
believe
is.
that.
Can we do like a sort of mid-section where you start telling us the answers, but maybe with a couple of clues?
That's 90 seconds, and I'm calling it.
I want to
I'm
get
calling
one.
time.
I want to get one.
Okay. Ali's won that 2-0. I'm very disappointed in the standard there.
I think Chalobah is like the best bad answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
but
thought
he did-
Livermore was a good
He was
shout.
playing for Watford
And
at the time.
Livermore.
He came on the last minute when we beat Spain away.
I
from
thought
home.
because you were asking me, I could only say players that play for Watford.
Lewis Cook.
Got a cap.
Oh, why is he
Right,
capping them
I'm
all?
just going to tell you the answers.
Okay.
So Ali, you correctly got Fraser Forster and James Trafford, 2 goalkeepers, but all the other players that have been named in Southgate squads but have not made it onto the pitch. Goalkeeper Marcus Bettinelli,
Oh my god!
Ben Gibson,
Wow.
centre back, was at Middlesbrough at the time. Jack Wilshere
Yeah.
got into a squad, a Southgate squad,
I'm
but
not
didn't
beating
get
myself
on
up
the
about these
pitch.
so far.
Michael Antonio,
Didn't play.
Fine.
no, since obviously gone on to represent
yeah.
Jamaica. Alfie
Of course,
Mawson,
yeah. Oh my god, retired. Retired after playing an amazing crossfield switch against Oxford.
yep. Angus Gunn,
Fine.
Good
Hold
keeper.
on, doesn't he play for Scotland now?
yeah, but
Uncapped.
you know, uncapped, switched. Demarai Gray,
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Jamaica caps.
and then you've got Kieran Gibbs, was named
Quality.
in an early squad.
That's great.
Glenn Johnson, Danny Drinkwater, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
How was
I'm
Glenn
not
Johnson?
annoyed with myself at all. That's fine. I feel all right.
How was Glenn Johnson in the Gareth Southgate squad? Great quiz. Thank you. Damari Gray's already got 5 Jamaica goals in 11 appearances. Fair play to him. Great quiz. I bet you everyone listening got way more than us, George.
Yeah,
That's,
I'll say they did.
that's always the case. Dave, that website that you've got up there is one of the most amazing resources I've ever seen. I also love, what's the name of the website?
EnglandFootballOnline.com.
EnglandFootballOnline.com is my favourite website, particularly because stylistically it is still stuck in the 90s. They've not done a lot of work on graphic design on that site.
No,
And why would they?
it's very early sort of HTML basic Web 1.0
Yeah.
stuff here, but all the better for it. It's got some amazing detail,
Yeah.
incredible detail. It's like sort of TMS levels of stats, really.
Hopefully, it can provide a couple more flash quizzes.
And it's nice that you use that rather than just typing into Chat GPT who are the only players that play for Southgate and not on the pitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this out there. Dave doesn't strike me as a big Chat GPT guy.
Nor was I until I used it this morning for the first time, and it did save me about an hour. So
Yeah, I'm yet to jump aboard.
I was
the
basically, I wanted to
ChatGPT
see
train,
how
but-
teams that have been relegated from leagues had got on the season after, and I was all ready to go through Wikipedia and like go season to season, and then I thought, I'll just stick it into that thing and see what happens, and it just came out with every single one like that, and I thought, wow, that is useful.
We're going to talk about England now ahead of the next week's warm-up games.
This podcast is not sponsored by Chat GPT, I should say,
No, certainly not.
yet.
Come on, OpenAI.
Yeah.
Chuck us a few quid. You won't miss it.
Bosnia, Monday, Friday, Iceland. And I'm a bit sad that you guys are going to the Iceland game and I'll be... Well, I'll be in Portugal, so I'm not going to be that sad. But I'm getting a bit of FOMO.
Will you be
from it.
watching? You're going to
It's
have
work.
It's
It is
work,
work.
darling. Yeah. Yeah, I'll practice that line.
Will the darling help you or hinder you there in that
Also,
situation?
I
I'm
reckon,
not sure.
knowing your wife and knowing that an hour ahead in Portugal
Yeah.
could be bedtime.
What's that, 8:45 kickoff?
Yeah.
Perfect.
She'll be in bed by 9.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it'll be fine. But I'm looking forward to your guys' report from that game and to pick up on some sort of squad announcement discussion stuff from the first episode in the left back area, the problem left back area. We had some fun news coming out of Australia not long after the final day of the Premier League season.
Indeed. So Newcastle played Tottenham in a friendly in Melbourne, I believe, in Australia certainly, and Newcastle won the game on penalties in the end. But the big news, as far as we're concerned, was that Kieran Trippier was taken off after 36 minutes and was spotted with an ice pack on his ankle. Howe said it was just a precaution.
It's a
Obviously,
long
he was
flight.
asked about it after the game, and he played it down and said it's all fine. But if you're Southgate or if you're the England physios, you're looking at that and going, "Oh no."
I mean, he started, I think, one game of the last few of the season. The calf injury that kept him out from the 11th of March until May.
Was the ice on his calf?
He came back
I think it was ankle.
a minute off the bench against Brighton, then penultimate game, 63 minutes against United, and then didn't start on final day, 9 minutes against Brentford, 34 minutes, precautionary, friendly appearance. And not wanting to go two-footed on Kieran Trippier, partly because it might injure him further. Are we all remembering his form before the injury? He just suddenly went from being one of the most dependable fullbacks in the Premier League and has always performed fine for England, I think,
Well, I'd
to
say.
suddenly looking quite wobbly.
Yeah. I don't know. I always think we can get too stuck into club form going into major tournaments. Like Maguire is obviously the main cause of that. I think Trippier's always been really dependable for England at right back and at left back, to be fair. And I think his job at Newcastle is very, very different, where they're so reliant on him. He's basically like a wide playmaker for them in terms of what he actually does on the ball. Whereas for England at left back, he's there to be a one-on-one defender, and he's there to hold the shape realistically. And I don't think there'll be much creative onus on him. Although my big issue with his left back role is that, given Foden, and I know we'll talk about this in a second, is likely to play on the left, in my mind at least. I think the reason that can work with City is because, especially in the last few weeks, you've had Vardiol playing as an incredibly high left back and kind of a goal threat. And I think in that sense for England, if Foden is going to play off the left, you want him to come inside and take up positions in that kind of 10 area. If you're going to do that, you want someone who is a bit more attack-minded and probably naturally left-footed. And therefore, with Shaw, like we spoke about the Shaw thing last week, the Shaw thing, anything but apparently, where he's obviously carrying an injury coming into the tournament. And the more I think of it, the more I think now, having thought initially that how often what Southgate was saying it was unlikely that he was going to go, I now think he'll definitely go.
Well, he's come round to our thinking, Dave.
Indeed. I would agree with you. However, Shaw himself has provided an update on his fitness. So there were lots of people, after he didn't play for Man United in the FA Cup final, There's lots of people on social media having a go at him saying, you're in the England squad, mate, but you're not fit enough to play for United and all that stuff. So he felt compelled to come out and sort of address this criticism. So he's basically said, the reality is I'm not 100% fit for either right now, but I'm doing everything I can and constantly working to be. I have been at this club, Man United, for 10 years through highs and lows, and for anyone to question my loyalty is obviously frustrating. Okay, fine. I appreciate I haven't updated you all with my injuries. You know, that's nice of him to say, but you don't have to.
It's ridiculous he has to say that.
Injuries,
where
plural.
I'm at with my recovery. But equally, the most important thing to me is that we're supporting the team playing, which is what he was doing there on Saturday, the FA Cup final. My biggest focus right now is being fit, and then whatever happens this summer, I will be ready. Thank you for your patience. Love heart emoji.
So
Good
Southgate has previous for this. So you got Calvin Phillips, who went into Qatar injured and wasn't a massive part of the team, and came off the bench against Wales, came off the bench against Senegal. But like again, Southgate wanted him there after he'd been so good in the Euros before, and he still took him even though he was injured. But the most pressing one, and I'd forgotten this, is that in the Euros back in 2021, Harry Maguire was injured coming into the tournament, and Tyrone Mings started the first two group games. Maguire didn't set foot on the pitch until the third group game. And that, I think, shows that with players who are so important, Southgate is happy to take players. And Maguire ended up being the only player in the England squad that was actually named in the team of the tournament in that tournament. So I'd be, even if by Southgate's own admission he thinks there's a long shot that Shaw will be fit, given that the squad has been bolstered out to 26, and given that I think Shaw stylistically just gives us something completely different to Trippier or Gomez on that left-hand side, I'd now be really shocked if he wasn't brought in. Even if he was only fit like late in the tournament, that would still provide a massive boost. Yeah,
I completely agree. And Maguire was also half injured heading into the Qatar World Cup. He had barely completed 90 for weeks. Henderson was injured heading into the Qatar World Cup, or at least that was the reporting around them, and they hadn't been playing regularly for their clubs. And Maguire started every game. I can't remember if Henderson started the first game, but I just think sometimes we worry too much about the injuries. That is without knowing the extent of Shaw's, current status. But
but I think we're right too, though, as well, because we have seen notable examples in years gone by where we've taken injured players to tournaments. Beckham in 2002, Rooney in 2006,
Rooney in 10 as well.
And exactly. And it hasn't worked. And we've pinned our hopes on them coming back and changing everything. And now, and as we've discussed already, we're in a different place now. We've got a better team. We've got better replacements and stuff. So we don't need to rely on one player as much as we perhaps did at those moments. But there is a balancing act, and only obviously Southgate and the players and the physios will know. To some extent, I think like we sort of massively underappreciate how much players are probably injured all the time and can just play with knocks and stuff.
I think the ice pack on the ankle is regular for almost all professional footballers coming to the end of a long season who've just been on a flight for 24 hours. But we don't have great natural left-sided options to take
it is
Shaw's
nice.
place.
It's nice that the perennial left-sided problem is now reared its head in some way.
Craig sent in a question about the left-back zone, which is clearly a bit of a sticking point at the moment, asking how does Southgate look at this position pre-tournament? Do we warm up Trippier and Gomez? And how does the side change tactically from them to orthodox left-footer? George has kind of already touched on that, right? We have this what feels awkward scenario where the assumption is that Foden will play on the left side of the attack because of the solidity of Saka, Bellingham, Kane in those positions that they occupy. Foden does his best work inside, and therefore, in any form of football, you would look for your left back to provide your attacking width. Attacking width is really important, even if the players who are holding your width aren't your best attacking players or the most dangerous. Just stretching opposition defences, particularly if you're playing against a team that's playing a flat back four, is really, really important to create gaps for the players in the central areas, or to always have a free man and overload at the back post. That is why this is so important in very basic tactical terms. And that's why having Foden as the left-sided forward with a Trippier or a Gomez feels wrong. But, do we overplay it slightly? Trippier being the spare man at the far post on the left side it's not like he can't kick the ball. You know, he can still take shots with his right foot. He can still attack the back post. Gomez could still attack the back post and be an aerial threat if we're working the ball out wide with Saka. Like, I don't know where I stand here. It feels awkward. It doesn't feel great. But I also think we could be 2 games in being like, it's international football. You kind of make it work.
Well, I remember, again, going back to that first game of Euro 2020, as you say, Mings was playing in the defence, but also Trippier was selected to play at left back. I can't remember whether it was for injuries or maybe just a tactical thing on Southgate's part. But what I do remember was reading Michael Cox's piece after the match. And he basically focused on Trippier and how good he was for England and how he was able to sort of open the pitch up. And there can be times when playing, as we see, you know, routinely now for players going forward, who play on the opposite side of the pitch to your natural foot, it gives you a different dimension, different angles. Same can be true at fullback. Perhaps a bit less so, but we're used to sort of the overlapping fullback. But Trippier is good enough to be defensively solid and also be intelligent enough to know when to come inside or know when to, if he has to go around the outside, he can have a go with the left foot or whatever. So it's not a complete disaster by any means. But I mean, obviously his fitness is still the issue as well.
If I could impose another manager's tactical philosophy and formation onto this England team as we're talking about it right now, it would be Maresca's Leicester, Maresca's Chelsea, because Trippier, you know, one fullback, the right back in this case, becoming part of a back 3 in possession, so probably Walker, then Trippier playing broadly on the same line as Rice in that sort of inverted role, and then Bellingham and maybe Gallagher in like really attacking number 8, sort of 10 type roles, with Saka and Foden as the wide forwards and Kane up top. That's
But Foden likely come into that number 10 role as well.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
Interesting that you bring Leicester into the conversation there, because there's another possibility at left back that we've not considered.
Go on.
And this comes to us via Tops, who are this season, or this tournament, the official provider of the official tournament sticker book.
Are we sponsored by Tops?
Well, we certainly won't be after the next
I really
90
thought
seconds.
this was a sponsorship announcement. I can't believe it.
They have included in the England squad, in the pages of the official Euro 2024 sticker book, Leicester fullback. I know he's been on loan, but still, I believe, contracted to Leicester. Luke Thomas.
Are you serious?
He is in the England sticker book squad.
What has happened there?
I had a quick look, and the local Middlesbrough paper has dug into it, and it seems to be some sort of weird licensing thing.
Amazing.
They couldn't get the image rights for some certain players, so somebody's just stuck him in there.
Luke Thomas is like, you can use mine, lads. Use my likeness, use my name, use whatever you want.
I think we need to get a Luke Thomas sticker.
I really don't want to be harsh about Luke Thomas, but he was in the under-21 Euro squad last summer, and
that's probably why he's ended up there.
He was the only left-footed, like natural left back, and he might have played a bit, but he wasn't involved at all. Basically, Carsley played anyone at left back apart from him, and his loan at Borough didn't go that well. So hope he has a good summer. You guys are going to that second warm-up game. Let's touch on those 2 games and Southgate's approach. Question from Alex. What approach do you expect him to take to these friendlies? Will we see his preferred starting 11, or do you expect the fringe players to get a chance to prove they need to make the cut? This is hard, isn't it?
All of it.
Well, is that possible?
Well, I don't think Southgate knows right now who's going to start the first game of the Euros. I think we will see basically every player, or at least most players of the 33, get some kind of game time. I think we'll see huge changes during the games, both at halftime or after an hour or so. So, yeah, I think we'll get some insight into possibly shape, and possibly we'll see fringe players stand out who might play themselves into a chance. But as I said on episode 2, I don't think the result and probably the performances are massively important.
David, I'm flitting between try and play your strongest possible team, as many starters or realistic starters, so that they can get into rhythm and in sync with each other, because they'll be playing almost all of the minutes anyway. Or we've got like 20 fringe players here. How do you give them a chance to prove what they can do? Because that's the current narrative around people like Wharton, for example. Maybe if he can show himself in the friendlies. I mean, is there enough time across 2 friendlies to do all of that?
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think you've got a couple of things here. So normally, I think this has got to be one of the biggest squads we've ever had, sort of preliminary wise. You know, maybe you're used to having sort of, because back in the days when it was only 23, you might take a 28-man training group or whatever. But now we've got 33, so there's an awful lot of players to try and fit in here. But there are players that are closer to playing their part either in the starting 11 or off the bench that he'll want to have a look at. But then there's a whole other group of players beyond that who he's kind of included for whatever reason. We alluded to maybe him having an eye on the future last week, or, you know, maybe he does want to just chuck a wild card in there. So he's got the temptation of, like, do I just start Adam Wharton in this game, see how he gets on? Kobbie Mainoo's just had a great game in the FA Cup final, scored the winning goal, and, you know, an opportunity for him to impress again after having already played twice for England. But then also, does he want to use it, as we say, for minutes, for fitness? There's a lot of different ways you can approach it, but you've only got 2 games to do it. There's only so much he can do.
And is it, if you play too many fringe types on the pitch at the same time, then it risks becoming almost like a free agent's trial, where, like, and I'm definitely overthinking this, where, like, they're so incentivized to do great things that team cohesion might suffer, and then the team might just look quite bad, which is often the case in friendlies where there's loads of chopping and changing. Like, is it fair on Adam Wharton if you give him 60 minutes, but you're playing him with, let's say, Gordon and Palmer and Watkins, none of whom have ever played together before, and certainly not for England, and therefore cohesion's going to be lacking. It'd be harder to stand out anyway. Like, is there a blend you could do? Like, the start, you know, basically like 5 starters all on the pitch at the same time, spread across positions, and then another fight. It's going to be interesting.
For the second game against Iceland, does he want, like, his starting 11 to play?
I mean,
but probably not.
Probably not.
No.
Right. So, don't know. A feature throughout the summer that we'd like to introduce is called WhatsApp Watch. And basically think this could be really funny because we're all, I assume, in a lot of WhatsApp groups, and nothing gets them going more than a major tournament. And some of the takes, some of the opinions, some of the reactions that we are going to get, and in some cases we might be contributing to ourselves, are going to be sensational and provide us with some humour and maybe some talking points again. Dave, we're weeks out, or 2 weeks out from the tournament starting. You've already started getting a bit of a WhatsApp Watch going. It's heating up.
Yeah, so I awoke on Sunday morning, late morning, it has to be said.
Lucky you.
Classic Dave, that.
I had what has been an increasing feature in one of my friendship groups over the last few years. I mean, George, I'm sure you'll identify with this, is that quite often now I'll wake up sort of mid-morning or whatever at the weekend, and then there'll be just like 50 plus messages in this one particular group. And it's all because the dads have woken up at like 6 in the morning, and they've, you know, they've just got time when they're feeding or they're doing whatever they're doing, but in between they're
feeding,
you know.
Have my breakfast.
You know, yeah. They've got some time on their hands to have a bit of a chit chat, right?
Yeah.
And on Sunday morning,
I do sometimes catch myself sending someone a message like 6:30 on a Saturday morning. And I'm like, yeah, that's
you're not getting a reply for 3 hours.
No.
Yeah, but I think one of them had watched the FA Cup final highlights or whatever early on Sunday morning, and had kick-started a bit of a conversation about Marcus Rashford and how Rashford showed flashes in that game of the player.
I was trying to do during the game on social media.
Yeah, the player that he can be and that he has been. And Ali, we talked about the England games since the last tournament. He's played in quite a lot of those and has scored moments and has been a big part of the setup still, which makes it all the more surprising that he's been left out, former side from this squad. But they were really going in on Rashford and like, yeah, you know, he can give us that option in behind. You know, we know he can be a great player, etc., etc. But yeah, I was interested that was it. That was the big take so far. Yeah. It's still Rashford.
And I agree with them. I mean, I think I probably disagree with those people who said that they thought that his performance on Saturday came from being left out of the side. I think it's more likely that it came from doing the game basically suiting him to a T, where he was playing against an incredibly high line, and therefore he was able to play on the shoulder, show his brilliant running in from behind. He did play that unbelievable switch, which was, you know, showing a player that wasn't necessarily as devoid of confidence as we've seen for most of the season. But I still maintain that I think he should definitely be in this first squad. I think both in terms of having a player like him to bring on in games where we're ahead, in knockout games and kind of coming under some pressure, to have Rashford playing high off the left-hand side and basically give the opposition something to think about in terms of being able to spring them in transition is important. I also think he's someone with the quality at times to impress. And also, if we're going to, as I said in the first pod, I think you can sometimes look at Manchester United players' forms in recent seasons and just discount it because United have been so poor. And it's what we've done with Harry Maguire for the best part of a decade now, is basically ignore what he's doing at United and continue picking him because he never lets England down. Obviously, Rashford's form for England isn't as good, but I still think there is, it's just mad for me that he hasn't been given a chance to show that he's in a place worthy of being considered, especially when there isn't really anyone of his profile who is in the 33.
George is basically, he's a WhatsApp watcher.
Yeah.
Like he's all over this, and they are 6:30 a.m. messages as well that he's been sleeping on. I think this could be funny. If you have any particularly notably spicy takes in any WhatsApp groups sent in, tweet us at NTT20 pod. I've just checked, and the hashtag WhatsApp Watch, there's only been 11 tweets with that specific hashtag in the history of Twitter.
Wow.
Many trillions of messages. So I think we can sort of claim that as an original thought and idea.
Do people still use hashtags?
Yeah,
I think we're
big time.
post-hashtag, aren't we?
I mean, yes, but I think in the right
Tell that to Spencer.
in the right moment.
Yeah.
So hashtag WhatsApp Watch. If anything particularly notable needs to come our way, and we'll read them out on the pod throughout the summer. We had a question in, which is, what's our route through the tournament? Is there any value in not coming top of the group? And the short answer is no. And the reason is, if England win Group C, they will face the best third-placed finisher from Group D, E, or F in the round of 16. So based on current betting odds of those groups, Austria, the most likely side to finish third in Group D, Romania and Czech Republic, the most likely to occupy those positions in E or F. Obviously, it could be another nation, but probably it would be one of those three teams if England win Group C. If we then get to the quarterfinals, having won the group and having beaten third-place finisher from D, E, or F, we'll face the runner-up of Group A or B. Hungary or Switzerland are looking like the likely second-place finishers in Group A. Italy, currently the bookies' favourites to finish second in Group B. That's the group of death, isn't it? Italy, Spain, Croatia, and Albania. So that's, to me, just obviously the easiest path. If we come second in the group, we would play the winner of Group A.
So hold on just a minute. We could potentially have a rematch against Italy or Croatia
Yes.
coming up in this tournament.
Yes.
There we go.
And then a rematch against France in the semi-final if that's the path we
So
take.
it's the
And
ultimate
then a rematch
redemption.
against Germany in the final.
It's the ultimate redemption story for
Yeah.
Southgate. So he'll vanquish Italy and Croatia, and then he'll lose to Germany in the final, the home nation.
Oh.
But we can't play Italy and Croatia.
One
Oh,
of
it's
them.
Italy or Croatia.
Yeah.
Okay.
But France.
France. Okay. Yeah.
If we come third, we'll play the winner of Group F. That's Portugal's group, or the winner of Group E, which is Belgium's group, and runner-up probably
Or we go
Germany.
out.
Yeah, or we go out. So basically, no. Let's win the group and go
Yeah.
from there. Ryan asks, who do you see following in the footsteps of Bukayo Saka, brackets 2020, as a player that could step into the 11 with an opportunity due to injury or performance and make themselves a star?
So I also think Adam Wharton will be in the final squad
Oh.
because looking through it, someone asked a question about Declan Rice I don't think we're going to get to today, but it made me think that there's no one in the squad basically who can play Rice's role at the base of midfield if he's gonna play in the middle of a three, apart from Wharton. Therefore, he kind of has to go because otherwise we're a bit screwed. And yes, he may not get on the pitch if Rice is completely fit, but at the same time, I think if he does get on the pitch, he will impress. And then the other Palace player, Eze, is the other obvious option where if he can force his way in and we use him, then I think he'll have a big say. But I don't think there's anyone in my mind, especially from an attacking standpoint. I mean, I guess there's a fair chance that Joe Gomez could play every minute of the Euros at left back.
Yeah.
I think it would be if, off the back of a long season of playing a lot of football, Saka was to pick up an injury in the friendlies or in the first group, in the group stages
Jared
or something, then that's
Cole
that's
Palmer?
an opening for Palmer or for Bowen
Yeah.
to really come in and make an impact.
Yeah.
The way I looked at this was because I think Saka had 4 caps before Euro 2020. In the training squad, there's quite a few players with 4 or fewer. So that was the group that I looked at. I mean, obviously Mainu is probably the obvious answer, given that there's a chance he might start, seemingly a bigger chance than Wharton at the moment, based on those March friendlies. I mean, Gordon hasn't got many caps. It's not out of the realms of possibility. Maybe there's too much traffic in front of him with Foden. We don't know what Southgate's feelings about Grealish are at the moment, whether he's still happy to think of him as a consistent England bench option or whether he's worried about his form. We don't know. I suppose the other one would be Branthwaite, where if Maguire gets injured, could Branthwaite be our starting centre-back?
Yeah.
If so, I think tournament football would suit his type of profile really well.
I saw his club teammate Ashley Young was bigging him up on TalkSport this week, saying he thinks he could play Champions League level.
Wow.
The weight of Ashley Young on TalkSport
Yeah.
is behind him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think Branthwaite, Eze, and Wharton feel to me like the 3 players where there's enough of a pathway into the side where they could start the tournament, possibly not even getting in the squad, but could be England fixtures in the England 11 from after the tournament going forward for however long, like that, and which is what Saka did.
Gareth asks, interesting, Gareth. He's obviously thinking about this a lot in the lead up to the tournament. Is Mr. Southgate, will you join in the nationwide condemnation if a penalty specialist is brought on after 119 minutes?
No.
If it's Ivan Toney, I think it would be negligence not to bring him on to take a
Yeah.
penalty. Having said that, with the benefit of hindsight, it is objectively funny that Rashford and Sancho came on in the 120th minute and missed penalties in the shootout.
I'm glad you can laugh about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic situation where you know, if it goes wrong, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But it's an example of Southgate attempting to, as you say, be meticulous and cover all bases and apply some sort of, almost like scientific methodology to it in terms of these are our best takers. We practice so much in training. They're mentally strong enough to take the penalties under pressure. We're going to do it. And it went wrong, and he looked silly. But was the decision wrong? You can argue that, but you can see the logic. I
mean, it's proper like, does the outcome mean that the means weren't justifiable? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think Marcus Rashford sat Donnarumma down and sent them the wrong way, and then just missed the target. Like, it was an inch away from being the perfect penalty. I don't think them not having kicked the ball before that moment had any impact on them missing the penalty, personally.
I'd like to recommend, if anyone finds this type of discussion interesting, a book called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, which is about the science behind decision-making, basically, because it starts with a whole chapter about an example in American football where Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks coach, called a play in a Super Bowl, which was a surprise choice. It was against convention, and they fucked it up, and they didn't win, and everyone panned him for making that choice, even though the data would have suggested it was a perfectly fine choice and it, didn't get executed, but that might have been the case with something else. So it's about, the tendency to equate the quality of a decision with the outcome rather than process.
What will be interesting is if Southgate does do it again. There's a reasonable chance, let's say, that we will have a penalty shootout at some point. And will he have the courage to go there again and the belief in his methods to do that again?
Great question to finish us off from Tom. If the pod could pick any 3 ex-England players to add to the squad for the Euros, who would they be and why?
So I'll start, and I'll just caveat my answer by saying that I'm only choosing players that I saw enough of. I'm not going to suddenly pick like Peter Shilton in goal because he was a bit before my time, but you guys might. So I'm going to go for... it was a tough decision between JT or Rio to play left side of centre-back, but I went for JT because I just thought John Stones, Rio Ferdinand playing as a defensive duo just would maybe be a bit much in terms of pure vibes and carrying the ball out from the back. I wanted to find a more stylistic fit at left back, but I think Ashley Cole's got to be the one that carries amongst the 3 of us. I'd be amazed if any of us didn't choose him. And then a classic Lampard-Gerrard debate went on in my mind this morning, and I ended up going for Gerrard in terms of adding some box-to-box quality to play in
What's
the three
going on here?
alongside Rice.
You're polluting this glorious generation with the tarnished
No,
golden
it's fine.
generation.
Yeah, exactly. With the only ones who are actually good.
He's also kind of put the pressure on us by A, saying it would be
Surely.
silly to pick anyone you haven't seen play, and B, Dave,
Please say
that
you got Bobby Charlton.
if you haven't picked Ashley Cole, you're an idiot. Have you picked Ashley Cole?
I haven't picked Ashley Cole.
No.
I have.
Who's playing left back?
Have you got a left back? Because that is clearly the problem at the moment. Or are you just happy with Kieran Trippier?
Yeah, I've got a left back. Don't worry.
All right.
Go on then.
Ashley Young.
No. Oh,
Cup
So you've
semi-finalist.
had a go at me at saying that you've picked someone who smacked the ball against the bar in a crucial penalty against Italy.
But, you know,
Curse.
is that it just you
one
just
of my favourite players of all time. I've got to be loyal to Ashley Young.
You
have
brought him
to
up twice as well.
you have to represent Watford. Is that it?
Yeah.
both as a
Is it-
both
are there-
as a media man and as a player, you brought him up in this show.
Okay, and let me go
Double
one
threat,
step. Let me go
Ashley
one
Young.
step further. John Barnes,
Yeah.
left wing.
Yeah. That's,
I very nearly chose him because I think he'd be a great option off the left. Are there any Oxford United players that have played for England, like recently? Because obviously Dave's just picked Ashley Young because he's a massive hornet. I'm just
not
working
recently. Mark Wright is the main one.
The centre back.
Yeah.
He could do a job.
He
Couldn't
gets paid
next
for centre
to
back.
John
Yeah,
Stones?
but I'm not biased. You know?
Okay.
out.
But it's only two.
My third one.
Troy
Um,
Deeney.
I'm gonna take Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think he'd be a fit Owen Hargreaves at his peak. I think he'd be
Hargreaves
great.
against Portugal. Just
Yeah,
that
yeah,
player.
sitting in midfield.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I had the Hargreaves versus Carrick debate. I think Carrick with Rice bombing on next to him would be unbelievable. I realise Hargreaves had more England pedigree, but Carrick's better player overall.
But
I
we
haven't picked,
basically got. Is Adam Wharton not kind of like Carrick? He's kind of
yeah.
that sort of style, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Pirlo, as I've seen some people compare him to. Which is a bit-
Yeah, I got Ashley Cole. Incredible. Left back would be great for this exact England team with this exact scenario. Bobby Moore.
You can't argue with it, can you? Really?
How could you possibly argue with it? How could you possibly argue with Bobby Moore? I think it's ridiculous that neither of you have.
I'd love to see how Bobby Moore would get on.
I would so nearly pick Bobby Charlton as well.
Oh my god.
Just for the long shots. But instead, I've gone with Peter Crouch. I just think great option to have.
I feel like I haven't
you know,
taken this question seriously.
Crouch's goal record for England was absolutely
Incredible.
brilliant, by the
Yeah.
way. 22 goals, I think it was, in 52 appearances. 42 appearances, sorry, did him dirty there. So that's better than 1 in 2.
I know what you're doing here.
But also just, mate, tournament... I'm going to bang on about this loads. Like,
Get him on the pod.
stop thinking about, like, oh, who was good for their clubs and, oh, this is the formation you got to play. Get Crouch there as an option.
Fine.
Just, he freaks defences out because he's
Well, in that case,
freakishly tall.
Just put Branthwaite up front.
No, that's stupid. Doesn't have any goal scoring pedigree. So those are my options. Moore, Cole, and Crouch.
Moore, Cole, and Crouch.
The real action starts now, Dave. That's a relief, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I like the idea of Ashley Young and John Barnes being in this squad.
I'd just love to see just prime Bobby Moore suck into this team and see how it go. Football's changed a lot.
I feel a bit bad for Maguire. You guys wanted to pick a left-sided centre-back, and probably Mags isn't playing alongside Bobby for my team.
Well, Bobby, the ball from Bobby Moore to Jeff Hurst for the 4th goal was from the left-sided centre-back position, wasn't
There you
it? Yeah.
Perfect.
I wonder
With
if
his right foot, though, I think.
That's all right.
would Hoddle be a shout? I watched highlights last week of Swindon's playoff final where Hoddle was the player-manager, and he played an unbelievable ball over the top that made me...
He's the classic where everyone's like, he's the most talented England player.
Yeah.
Him. Oh, no,
Gaza.
not say Gaza.
Yeah.
We got Jude. It's fine.
Yeah, we've got Bellingham.
Yeah.
The real stuff starts next week. Well, actually, it doesn't. The warm-up games start next week. I can't wait to hear about your guys' trip to Wembley. Are you going to make
We need to sort that out.
It's a Friday night as well.
Mm.
Are you
Yeah.
making quite a big deal out of that?
We haven't really planned it properly yet at all.
We're just assuming there'll be loads of tickets, I think.
Have we got a community of match-going fans listening to this pod?
Let us know.
Is there some pre-match drinks happening? That's
Okay.
what I want to know. Can we call on you guys listening to please make sure you're providing us with some hashtag WhatsApp watch content throughout the tournament? The spiciest takes that you see on WhatsApp, the more nonsensical and reactionary, the better.
I've got a mate of mine who's going to the game up at St James's as well.
Lovely.
So I'll get an eyewitness
Get a voice note.
report from him.
Get a voice note.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Body language. That's what you can see
Exactly, yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
live that you can't often see through the TV set. I hope you're enjoying the England pod. 3 episodes in, excitement building heavily towards the Euros. It's definitely helping me in terms of like England fan therapy. This, I must say, it's definitely making me more positive.
I'm a bit worried.
You know, Bobby Moore is his ashes are scattered very near my house.
Really?
How
And,
near?
like, very near, to the extent that once when I was looking after my daughter, probably about 6 months ago, I decided on a rainy day to take her on a pilgrimage to go and see where Bobby Moore's ashes are scattered. So I went.
Where is this place?
It is. I don't want to give away where I live. You know where I live.
Yeah.
It's
Describe.
it's called the City of London Crematorium.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it's in a crematorium.
Yeah, and I
Right,
went
okay.
there.
But George lives in the crematorium.
I went, yeah. You know how you see
He's
those,
like the night
you know how you
manager.
have those like little huts in crematoriums.
Yeah,
I live
yeah.
in one of those.
I thought you meant like it was a a sort
What, a
of
tree?
sentimental place
No.
somewhere, like a football pitch or something.
He played at Wanstead Flats when he was growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just behind Wanstead Flats, to be fair. And I took my daughter there on a pilgrimage, and I was going to tell her all about Bobby Moore, probably get his Wikipedia page up and read a bit to her. And I watched one for ages, and I just couldn't find it, and I had to go home. So that's a shame.
It is a shame. I'm actually a bit worried. We've done 3 episodes, and I'm just concerned that the levels of England excitement by doing this pod is going to be boosted so artificially high that the potential for a crashing come down when it happens is just
That's
too
what being
much.
football fans all about, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's what life's all about.
Yeah.
Like what are we all doing if we're just going about our day being dreary and not getting excited about stuff? Like, come on. This is what I genuinely believe that this is what life is about. Is like community, getting excited about things. It could be football.
If you
it
don't
could
want to be here, get out.
It could be other things for other people, but for us, unfortunately or not, it's football. And for us, it's great that everyone in England is supporting England. So club football's brilliant. The English football pyramid is unbelievable. It provides me and George and yourself in a different way with great careers, and we love it as a hobby, as work, as all that stuff. But this is different.
Yeah.
And like we talked in episode 2 about our favourite memories travelling and watching England. We've never seen England win a major tournament, but I still feel that watching and supporting England has been one of the best things in my life, and in particular over the last decade or so, or since 2014, one of the best things in my life. So I make no apology for getting really excited about this.
Thank you, Gareth.